Catus. Maximus here, doing just a quick video on this MotivX Tools die-cast 6061 aluminum fluted oil filter cap socket. Now, many modern automobiles made in the last 10 years or so, even more than that, instead of replacing an entire cartridge, which you might use pliers or something like this on, or traditional oil filter sockets, they're now filter elements, just the paper element, and then you pull off a plastic housing and you replace the filter element. It's a little bit more efficient. Issue is, and at least in this case with this particular socket, like Jaguar and Range Rover vehicles, that plastic housing is still 14-sided like traditional oil filters, except for it has like these little indentations and then little fingers, presumably so that you can use your hand to try to loosen it, but they still get stuck, so that's why these sockets exist. And they exist because traditional oil filter sockets, even though this is a 14-sided one, same size, like 90 millimeter, it doesn't have deep enough recesses here, so this won't fit onto that plastic oil filter housing to replace the cartridge. So that's essentially what these are for, is for fluted oil filter housings. Die-cast 6061 aluminum, chrome plated. A lot of people, not a lot, but there are a few people online who say that these are some of the better ones that are made. And I can tell you, at least as far as the die-cast aluminum, it's not the strongest material, for sure, especially compared to the traditional stamped steel ones. But it sure is nice, and when they do a really nice job of casting, you can see that there just isn't any burrs or really sharp edges. The only defect here, these little indentations, since this is cast like plastic, it gets pushed into the mold, and then when the mold's open, it needs to eject it. That's what all these little marks are. There's a set of fingers that actually push it back out of the mold. We can see one of the fingers wasn't retracted all the way and left a kind of a nasty dent. But besides that, it's absolutely perfect. Been a couple comments about these cracking, which I can understand. If they have just a little bit of an issue during the casting process, there can easily be a defect or integrated stresses inside the socket. But apparently they are pretty good with their warranty, although it is only a 1-year warranty for a hand tool, so that's is saying something. 3/8 drive, 27 millimeter external drive or hex on it. And just wanted to mention that. So they are special sockets for the fluted type oil filter housings. These MotivX tools, surprisingly enough, they're a company out of Washington. This is made in Taiwan, but they were really popular in Europe, surprisingly enough, particularly in the UK. And this company pretty much only makes like filter or oil change tools. They're really pretty specific for a tool company. They do make, like, for $200 a master oil filter housing set, and that does look pretty nice. But this is one of their larger sockets. I randomly ran into this at a thrift store, brand new in the package, so I figured I'd take a look, and was actually surprised because I've seen some aluminum ones before, but they weren't actually, you know, they didn't attempt to make them very well. So this thing's pretty nice, works on the fluted oil filter housings, and many of their other sockets are also designed for that. So I just wanted to do like a close-up look at them. And of course, you can still use things like oil filter wrenches and things like that on those housings, but it does kind of beat them up. I just like the fact that when a nice feature about this is, one, it is deep, and two, you can use it, since it's still 14 flat 90 millimeter. I can certainly use this, or you can certainly use this in the situation where you use traditional oil filter sockets, except for you get one that works on both standard oil filters as well as fluted. That being said, sometimes, especially on really cheap thin wall traditional oil filters, if you're using this on a traditional big bore oil filter, these stamped sheet metal sockets actually have slightly convex flats, which kind of grab the filter a little bit more. I've read a couple times where these have slipped, but most people are successful even when using these on standard oil filters, and are always successful when they use them for their truly intended applications, which are the fluted cartridge filter housings. So anyway, enough talking about that. I just wanted to do what I do, show people oddball tools that actually seem pretty nice and helpful. And so this company makes a variety of filters. This one happens to be for their Jag and Range Rover, which actually they're still selling those vehicles. Don't know how. And so it'll be nice to have one of these sockets just in case. Anyway, Really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out. Oh, I should say, the reason they even get away with aluminum on these is because, if you're working at an oil change place, you may end up beating up this drive enough for it to not hold a ratchet anymore because, once again, it is aluminum. The second issue is if you're dropping this, it's going to want to crack and get damaged a bit more easily than the steel. And so that would be just a bit of a takeaway. You get a really nice socket that's really well made and sized, but they got to sacrifice just a little bit of overall, physical durability.